Hello to all. This is Alejandro Bratti, Shanei Born, and CJ from Believe in Yourself, Believe in Your Business, and welcome to the Spanglish World Network on Singo TV, channel 250. Please remember to download both the Singo TV app and on the respective app stores on iOS and Android devices. While you download, make sure to rate and leave a comment. The app is free. Singo TV is also available on Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire, and Fire TV sticks, Roku sticks, and all smart TVs 216 and forward. So thank you very much. We have an amazing guest today, and I am really happy to have you here with us, Don. This is amazing. I know that you have done a lot of great things in the past. So today we are going to start knowing who was Don a lot of years ago, the time that you want to share with us, like, okay, who was Don when you were a kid or when you were a teenager? What was the thing that happened? So the way of this show, how it works is we start with, okay, who was Don? What happened in the middle when you started to believe in yourself? And suddenly, who are you right now? And what are the amazing things that you are doing now? Because I know that you are doing amazing things. So this is great, Don. Happy to have you here with us.
Well, thank you so much. I'm very excited and honored to be here. And wow, that's a lot to go all the way back to childhood, but I will see what I can do to compress time and compress my story for you and for your listeners. Who was I as a kid? I was described as just this bubbly, outgoing, vivacious young little girl. And like many of us experienced situations of trauma and just less than ideal situations when my parents got divorced. And I took it really hard. I remember people telling me later in life about that shift they saw in me. I stopped talking for almost a year. And I got very sick. I never was hospitalized, but I got pneumonia, bronchitis. Like I really internalized what was happening in the outer world for me. At that age, I was 5, which interestingly enough is how old my daughter is now. So I've been reflecting a lot recently on, what I was doing at her age and the life she's able to have now. I was very loved by my parents, so nothing negative there, but, divorce brings challenges for kids and many different things. I was the youngest of 4 kids, but I was very attached to my mom and to helping her with, cleaning and cooking and things like that, even though I was 5. So I took on, my mom always said I was the 5-year-old going on 35. I sort of took on the weight of the world and also developed just this like deep drive for perfectionism, for getting things done, for getting out there and just doing the work. And that led to a lot of success in life. I was straight A student, valedictorian, went to college, and same thing there. Did a 4-year degree in 3 years because I was crazy and didn't want to pay for a 4th year of school. So you could say I've always been driven. That would be an accurate statement. I have not always, however, had a business. I often refer to myself as the accidental entrepreneur. But I also say that entrepreneurship saved my life, and I'm sure we'll get into that part of my story. But the accidental part of entrepreneurship for me was that I didn't start out to start a business. My husband and I were pastors. Him for 25 years, me for 7. And that situation got really, really unhealthy. After I had my daughter, some things happened with leadership, and the short story is that we were told that we were failures because our church wasn't big enough. And we were told that we should probably resign and that we were a burden to the church organization. They didn't fire us, but who wants to stay in a place where you're not uplifted and encouraged? And I took that pretty hard. who wouldn't take being called a failure pretty hard after blood, sweat, and tears in ministry. Ministry is a tough job. As moms, we often say it's the most thankless and it's the hardest job out there. Ministry is right up there with motherhood in terms of being thankless and just really hard 24/7. We worked a lot with the homeless and people who were mentally ill. And I still have moments, I think, of PTSD from that time. Like, it was not easy ministering to people who would threaten my life on multiple occasions, even though I was trying to help them. Like, it was just tough. It was really tough. And then to not be supported by our leadership, I wanted out. And my husband, like I mentioned, he'd been doing it for 25 years. So that's all he'd ever known. Basically, he left his parents' home, went into seminary, and spent his life in ministry. And there I was, wanting to be home with my daughter and not send her to childcare. And that was a big change for him. But that is how I ended up getting into entrepreneurship, was Googling work from home. Because after we were told we were failures, the solution for them was to move our family, a physical move about a half an hour, 45 minutes from where we were, and to different jobs. And then we also had pastors that were over us. They were overseeing our work rather than us being in charge. We had been in charge of an entire county. So we were doing about 80,000 services a year with 3 staff and my husband and I. We're talking like hot meals, homeless shelter, housing programs, food bank, like tons of stuff that we were in charge of. And then they moved us and put us beneath another couple. And then they forced me to put my daughter in childcare. And that was sort of as we say, the straw that broke the camel's back. I couldn't do it. I got really depressed, like severely depressed. I was having panic attacks whenever I was trying to visit different childcare places and figure out where my daughter could be safely while I was at work, since they would not let me bring her to work, which is what I'd been doing previously at the church that we were running, because it was easy to just have her in tow with me at the church or working from home. And at that same time, my husband, like, I was so unwell. There were days when he would sneak away from his appointment and check on me to make sure that I hadn't taken my life and that I was emotionally stable. Wow. So it was very, very intense, a very dark time for me. And there was a moment after meeting, we actually went to the leadership that called us failures, and we were asking for help because I was struggling so much leaving my daughter. And they laughed at me and said, parents don't stay home with their kids anymore. What would you possibly do if you didn't work for us? And that's sort of my line in the sand moment, my Incredible Hulk, the you messed with the wrong mama bear moment of like, I don't have an answer today for you, but you sure as heck better believe that I'm going to figure it out because I'm out. But in our situation, we were both employed by them. We lived in a house that was fully furnished by them. They provided 2 cars for us. They provided our computers, our phones. They paid the bills. They paid taxes. Like, everything was provided for us. So it took me some time to save up the money and to shift into my own business and get out of that situation. So it didn't happen overnight. For those people who work on their dreams for many years, don't give up. You can achieve it. But I just stayed the course. I was committed to leaving after how we were being treated. Googled work from home, bought a digital marketing course, and I would learn every single night. I would learn whatever it took to build my business. Eventually I found copywriting, which is what I do now. Again, not the first thing that I found. I wish I had, one of those things like we have crooked roads that lead us, right? Like, it's not always just the straight path. And I tried a lot of different things like affiliate marketing and things like that before landing on copywriting and just falling in love with it, as well as realizing I was good at it. But I just had so much fun. And ultimately, we were able to resign from our ministry positions, which was just over 3 years ago. At first, we worked for a nonprofit, and then I quit that, and then I retired my husband about 6 months ago from there. So my business, yes, thank you. My business supports our family now. We own our own home. And really all of that happened in the last 3 years.
You are going too fast. We need because this is amazing. No, it's great. I know that you are trying to, but really, thank you for sharing this. It's amazing, really, and I know that there is a lot of people that is struggling with this. So that's why for us it's important to go like in the areas that you are talking, because it's really like at the end, yeah, I can feel like that, and I am struggling like that right now. I am struggling with something similar. So the idea is to tell them there is hope, there is something that is going to happen in your life. So out of that, okay, you were in the moment that they tell you you are a failure, and I know that that's tough, and that goes directly to your soul, and they can even take your soul out because of that. So how did you handle that? I know that you went through some depression, but tell us a little bit more on that area, because I believe that's like a tipping point, like this something has to change here.
Yes, absolutely. Great question. One of the big mindset shifts for me after realizing, okay, nobody's going to come to save me. Right? We all have this idea of Prince Charming.
Yeah.
I mean, I was married, but you know what I mean? This idea of like somebody rushing in and saving you. And there was one night that tears were just streaming down my face. And I realized like, no one's coming. Like this situation is not going to change. I'm not going to get the time that I wanted with my little girl. She was 1 at the time. If I didn't fight for it, like I realized, first of all, it was on me. I was responsible. And if anything was going to change, I had to change. So that was the starting point. And then I heard this phrase, everything happens for me, not to me. And, I had a really good victim story. I will never say they were right in calling us failures or laughing at me or mocking me. I especially don't think that was godly. Even if you're not religious, it's not a nice thing to do to someone. So I had this really great victim story of like, woe is me. They're so mean. They ruined my life type of story. And when I heard that phrase, I was like, okay, how can this be for me? Because number one, they weren't sorry. They weren't thinking about me every day like, oh, we really messed things up for them. They didn't care, right? So I was giving them this like power in my brain, this real estate in there, getting me down every day. And once I realized that, I was like, nope, no more. They don't get that power over me anymore. I'm going to live my life and I'm going to make my life amazing in spite of what they've decided to do. So deciding that it was for me and getting grateful was the biggest shift. I started thanking, like, thank you so much. I was called a failure. Thank you so much that I discovered there was a thing called online business. Thank you so much. Like, I just would go on these rampages of gratitude of thank you because I'm becoming the person I'm meant to be because of that experience of being told I was a failure. If I wasn't told that, none of this journey would have happened. And now I'm happier than I ever even thought possible. I used to be one of those people, not that I was like Eeyore, but I kind of would walk around and be like, death and taxes, like life sucks, then you die. I used to say that phrase a lot. Like, that's a terrible mantra.
Yeah.
And now I have so much joy and I love my life so much. And I'm so grateful for those hard things because without challenges in our lives, we don't grow. So that's what I would say. If you're going through a challenge in your life, how can you flip it and decide that it's for you and start being grateful for it?
So, Dawn, you talked about your overnight success being a process. I'm curious, what the process of time was from, the drawing the line in the sand and then going through these things leading up to, some of the successes and then the mindset shift. Because even today I posted, and it lines up with what you're saying. Winston Churchill said, if you're going through hell, keep going. So what were some of the other things that you started to reprogram as you went through, practicing gratitude? It's something I practice every day as well, even through the tough times. So what was the span of time, would you say? And what were maybe some of the other mantras that you started to reframe your mindset?
Yeah. Time frame wise, from when I was mocked and said, parents don't stay home, what would you possibly do? And that was the same month that they moved us. So we moved to a new city, a new house, all that, new jobs. It was 18 months before we were able to resign. And that felt like a long time in hell. Trust me. We were driving over 40 hours a week to commute because of where they moved us. We were living in a house about half the size with 6 of us that we had lived in before, even though there were other options available for our family, but they chose to put us in the smallest one, and they denied letting my husband do his master's. So that felt long, even though I look back now, I'm like 18 months, that isn't that long, but it felt long at the time. We were pretty heavily abused by those in power over us. Like, they were not kind. And so again, like when you're going through something like that, it just feels longer. So yeah, it definitely was not overnight, but I stayed committed to success. Like, I always believed, one of my favorite definitions of faith is believing even when it looks like it's not going to happen. So I still believed, even when it was hard, even when those 18 months felt really long, it's like I lived in my mind in the place of overcoming, in the me who had already resigned, in the me who had a house, in the me who had a successful business. And, you don't have to go so far out that it seems like impossible to believe. Like, I was first aiming for just resigning, right? That's all I wanted, was to resign. And then I wanted to buy a house. And then I wanted to quit my job. And then I wanted to retire my husband. And so I did all those things over time. Once we resigned, so that took 18 months to resign. And then it was 1 year to the date that we bought our house. So we stayed in a rental for 1 year, and then I had enough money from the business to buy a house. And then it was from there, not quite a year before I retired my husband. It was like, a year and a half, 6 months. And then I quit my job after getting the house. Okay. And then a year after that, my husband. So chunk it down. Like, I think sometimes our brains, if we imagine what we want and it's so far past like our reality right now, then the subconscious is like, yeah, liar, like, you don't have a 7-figure business. I'm still on the journey and the path of, I have bigger goals now, even though I've, hit all these milestones that I had. I'm still living in the future. One of the best tools, I know you mentioned you do gratitude every day. I journal gratitude, and I journal it as if it's already happened, thanking God for it already happening. So, and I totally believe that that's how I've been able to do things like get this house. Like, our house was a complete miracle that happened really fast. I started journaling every day. And within 2 months, even though it looked impossible because there's really nothing on the market in our price range, 2 months later, we closed on it. Wow. And we got into this house right before the pandemic hit, which was such a godsend as well, to be in a bigger space and a beautiful neighborhood for all that quarantine time. So stay there. And the gratitude, writing it like, thank you so much that... This is what I wrote. Thank you so much that I closed on the house and celebrated my birthday the same weekend. that's what I was writing every day because my birthday was 2 months out. And I was like, hey, this would be great. I knew the lease was ending on our rental. So you can put a longer time frame on it than 2 months, but staying in that feeling and that gratitude of it already happening is so powerful for making things speed up and accomplishing your goals and just checking it off the bucket list.
Just quickly, I know I want to go deeper on this part that you are doing, talking about the mindset and how you started to visualize everything, because that's really key, I believe. But one question that I have in the 18 months that you were there, because on those 18 months, you continue working with people and ministering people. How did you do that when you were like, I want to retire, I want to retire, I am planning to retire, I am visualizing that I am retiring from here, I am going to... But that was because of the leadership, but not because of the people that you were leading. So how did you deal with that?
I love this question.
Mm-hmm.
So my last appointment, as we called them, ministry position was helping women who had fled near fatal domestic violence situations.
Wow.
So it was perfect in that I was doing all this personal development stuff as I got into entrepreneurship. I was taking these courses. I was going on weekend trips where we were doing like high ropes courses, and I was growing in my mindset. And then I would come home and I would teach all the women what I was learning. And that phrase, like, everything is for me, not to me. Very similar one is everything always happens for my highest good in divine timing. And I did kind of feel split personality in that, like, I knew in my heart and my head that I was wanting to leave and I was working to leave. But at the same time, I had a ministry with those women. There was one woman in particular that, like, I literally saved her life, standing in the gap with her with law enforcement. And so I knew that I could still be making a difference, even though it wasn't my end. I don't know who said it, but somebody said, like, don't despise the bridge that gets you from where you are to where you want to be. And that time was my bridge. And yeah, I wished it was shorter, but at the same time, I was like, okay, I'm learning all this stuff. I'm growing, and I can pass all of this on to these women before I get out. And that phrase, everything always happens for my highest good and divine timing. I would say that sometimes, like, I swear thousands of times in one day, because I clung to that hope. It allowed me to have peace, because if everything is always happening for my highest good, that means that everything that's already happened up until this point, I can be at peace with that it was going to work for my good. And everything that was happening in the present was working for my highest good in divine timing. So I was trusting the timing, and I could trust and look forward to and be excited about the future that I knew was coming and would be for my highest good. So that phrase, like, really, really got me through, I would say, that 18 months of straddling really the two worlds, right? And we kept it a secret. Like, I couldn't be talking to anybody, right? I mean, even our kids didn't know that I was building an online business. Like, I did it all in secret in the beginning because we weren't allowed to have an alternate source of income, and it just wasn't allowed. So I had to do it all secretly. So it really did feel like this double life, like a foot in each world. But I did my best, I guess, to still minister and help where I could, and know that this wasn't the end of my story. I had something else that was coming down the line at some point when the time was right. And when the time was right, that 18 months, I mean, we literally, my husband and I got jobs at the same nonprofit. We got offered jobs on a Tuesday. We found the one house in the one zip code we needed on Wednesday, and we signed the lease. And on Thursday, we gave our 2 weeks notice. And 2 weeks later, we had moved, us and 4 kids, to a new house. And, the whole shebang. We had to buy 2 cars. We had to, set up all the utility, like everything. Like, we literally rebuilt our lives in 2 weeks. So it happened really fast once the time was right. Yeah, it was crazy.
But I mean, that is incredible, Dawn. Like, you must have some real motivation to do all that in 2 weeks. I mean, of course, you had the motivation to get out of there. No doubt about that. But how did you start, building your new life? Especially from, starting your own business. How did you grow your business? In other words, how did you believe that you can do what you're doing now? Is it only your journaling that took you there, or is there something else that also was an influence?
I think I'm so stubborn in a good way that I was like, this is wrong and I will not fail. Like, funny story. So when I first started my online business, because I purchased this digital marketing course that taught me how to build funnels and be an affiliate marketer, I didn't tell my husband. I did it in secret. And I did all this training for it was probably like a month or so. And then I finally told him, I was like, oh yeah, I'm like, here's what I'm trying to do. Because he was really, really reticent to leave ministry. He wasn't happy, but like I mentioned, like everything was provided for us. So it's a very secure life. You just, you trade your freedom for security, but that's another conversation. And he laughed at me. He's like, you don't even know how to turn the TV on. Not in like a mean mocking kind of way, but it just like, your online business is our ticket to out of ministry, but you don't know how to turn on the TV. And that's like legitimately true. To this day, I still can't turn on the TV. Technology and me are, I don't know that we'd say we're friends now. I get along enough to do my copywriting and funnel building, but I love that story because it shows that anything is possible. Like if I can learn technology, if I can learn how to have an online business and like gain all these skills that I never had any idea existed 3 years ago, then anybody can. It's just that I was fiercely committed, like fiercely. I wanted it so bad that I was willing to stay up late. I was willing to get up early. I like I said, I did it in secret. So none of the kids could see. So they would go to bed and then I'd go to my room and I would learn on my laptop from the bedroom from like 8 to 10 or 8 to 11 every night. Or I'd get up at 5 a.m. before the kids were awake and I would be doing my stuff. I remember like split testing Facebook ads at 5 a.m., like just doing the work and not making excuses. And yeah, I was tired and yeah, we had, tons of other things going on, but I was never going to fail. And I guess that's why maybe they talk about your why. You might be familiar with Simon Sinek and what's your why. And in business, we talk about, not every day is sunshine and roses. And so in those hard days, remember why you do what you do. And, my little Y was a year old, 2 years old, and she is like the most adorable thing in the world to me. So my why was very, very, very strong. And when I had that, no amount of pain could get in the way of me still going after that dream. I knew that I knew that if I just didn't give up, I would find success at some point. And so that's what I would say to people is there's nothing special about me except that I'm just freaking resilient and I just would not let go. I would not give up until I figured it out. And anybody can do that.
Yeah.
Wow. Go ahead, Shanei.
No, I just wanted to know, how did you know that this was what you wanted to do, like go into copywriting? Do you believe that this is your purpose, or are you still working towards your purpose?
I think it's a big part of my purpose. I view my copywriting and what I do as part of ministry, I guess. I often joke and say, you can take the girl out of pastoring, but you can't take the pastor out of the girl. Like, I just love helping people. And, with copywriting, I'm helping entrepreneurs sell more. And like all of my clients are in the transformation business. They're making a difference in the world. So by me helping them, they're making more of a difference in the world because they're selling more. They're bringing more people into their programs because I write good copy. And then the other side of what I do is coaching. I coach female copywriters. And same thing. I know, like, I see me in them, right? Of, me a couple of years ago, just starting out, trying to make this business work so that I could be home with my daughter, like those sorts of things that they're going to make a difference in their family, in their community, in the world because of what I teach them about building a business. So for me, it's all about impact. I love money too. I love that it gives choices. And we have a lot of different choices now. Like, for example, my daughter's at private school. That never would have been something that we could have afforded as pastors. Like, that just was impossible. So, that is great too. But the impact that we get to have is phenomenal. And, Chris Harder always says, we need good people making good money so we can do great things in the world. And that is really my heart and my mission and my passion. And no, I didn't start with copywriting. I kind of was hard-headed about getting into copywriting. I was building funnels, so doing the tech side of things. I was running affiliate offers. So basically somebody else's product and I would get a 30% commission off of it, and I'd run Facebook ads. That just lacked soul and purpose to me. I knew I was meant for more, and I wanted to make more of a difference in the world than just, it wasn't just about making money. So that's when I started looking at, what else can I do? I created a course. I tried helping moms build businesses, but my business wasn't successful yet. So I was like, I got to do something else until I figure this business thing out. And then I just started noticing, like, my ads did really well, my funnels did well, and people in that affiliate community would ask me for help on their copy. And it was something that just came so easy to me. I was like, oh, this is weird that it's a struggle for you, but okay, like I don't mind helping. And I just started helping people. And then I was on this one call with a copywriter, and we were chatting, and I was like, so you make more than 6 figures a year, like just writing copy for people's websites? She's like, yeah, it's amazing. She had 2 little kids that she stayed home with. And I was like, man, I wish I had known that I could be a copywriter. And then I was like, oh, it's not too late. Like, I still hadn't figured out what I was doing in business yet. And so that's when I shifted. And honestly, so at that point that year, like the fiscal year, I had made $3,000 just like odd jobs, selling the course I created, being like a tech VA. So I would build the funnels, I would load emails into autoresponders, stuff like that. I'd made $3,000. I locked into copywriting and was like, yes, this is what I love. I'm going to do this. Let's go. And within 4 months, I'd made almost $40,000. So I 10x'd my income once I got aligned and like landed on, okay, this is the thing. And then I just ran after it. I was all in. So, I don't know what that is for those of you listening, like what your one thing is. Just know that when you find it, you'll know. And it feels good. It's fun. I love saying the more fun I have, the more money I make. So whatever you love to do that's fun, use that and make more money and do good things with it.
So Dawn, I'd like to address, first of all, Chris and Lori are amazing. And I love the work that they both do. When you make good money, you do good things. And I want to address that in a second about money mindset, because you have a lot of really great things to say about that. I'd like to take a step back for a second and you think about, okay, what's going to make me money? And I think there's a lot of focus on, this is going to make me money, so I'm going to love it, rather than saying I love it and it'll make me money. So there's kind of getting the cart before the horse in a lot of sense. I see a lot of people do it. I've done it. I think I still do it. But just stepping back into like what you used to do and the difference between those who oppressed you in doing what you love and helping the people, and even some of those who retaliated, you're helping people with mental health. What you used to do is actually, both of them are passions of mine. have a big heart for a homeless community, have a big heart for people with mental health. Depression and anxiety have quadrupled over the last 2 years. Homelessness has tripled worldwide over the last 2 years, and for obvious reasons, don't have to get into it. But I'm wondering, taking a step back before we step into mindset, do you still think about how you would impact those communities where you were once deeply involved, or have you completely stepped away from that, and maybe why?
Yeah, great question. We are still connected. We still attend the church, which still has huge ministry to the homeless, those with mental health issues and things like that. Obviously, like day to day, I'm not as connected. But I think that's the part of it for me of, when I was in that position, I was writing grants, like grant proposals. I was contacting donors in the community and trying to get donations for us to run those programs. And I was always asking for money. And now on the flip side, where I know how to make more money, I get an opportunity to use that money to fund some of those programs that, so it's still really important to me, because we need boots on the ground helping, but we also need money to fund those boots on the ground. And, I'm not on that front line anymore, but that's part of why I feel this, I guess you would call it like a duty to make more money, because I know that these things need to be funded. And the other thing that came to mind in answer to this question is, I heard somewhere, like, you can't become poor enough to help the poor.
Wow.
And that really landed with me. As pastors, my husband and I were making about $2,500 a month, working more than full time, both of us, in ministry. And, we had a lot of things provided for us, like the non-cash benefits, but it's very different being an entrepreneur and having no income ceiling. And, I could make more than that in a day or an hour at this stage of my business. And just shifting that mindset of like, yes, there's something to be said for those boots on the ground, but there was no way that I could have the impact that I can now have with my financial resources when I was barely getting by month to month. Right?
Yeah. So Don, I'm curious, because I think often in the faith community, there's a whole lot of poverty mindset, and the idea of the love of money, or loving the outcomes that money can do. There's a lot of kind of shunning from it. And even myself this morning, I try to read Proverbs a couple times a year. So I'm doing round 2 here in February, and reading Proverbs 1:19 this morning. It says, greed takes away from the life of its owners. So when you're just chasing money for the sake of money, there's this idea of, that's not good. So because you've come from that faith background, and I see where you are now, obviously there's a shift that's taken place where you have a healthy relationship with cash flow, and how you make an impact where you once struggled and were asking for money. Now you get to make an impact to support those with boots on the ground. Perhaps you can talk about the shift in mindset from those who say for Christianity, or gummy bear churchianity, what I like to call it, and having the excuse for living in lack, versus stepping into kingdom mindset and saying, our God is amazing. He creates abundance, and we get to partner with him and create. Can you speak to some of that transition that happened for you, and the idea behind people who make great money can do great things? Can you speak to some of that transition?
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely something that I struggled with, because you're right. In the religious community, we often have this idea that wealth and spirituality cannot go together. They cannot coexist. And even though we see examples in scripture, look at Abraham or Solomon or David, massive wealth, massive wealth. And God blessed them, and God blessed them richly. And yet we still have this idea from that verse, the love of money is the root of all evil. And I think really it has to do, at first with like questioning, what does that really mean? What did Jesus really teach? What does the scripture say? And what he talks about is making money an idol before God. And you mentioned the relationship with money. And I think that's a key part, is that we have a relationship with God and we have a relationship with money. And I could go like the whole time just talking about money and spirituality. And I really think that our relationship with money has the most to do with our relationship with ourselves and our ability to love ourselves.
Okay.
My money journey has been a falling in love with Dawn journey. It's been becoming worthy of love and worthy of money. It's totally connected. I do this funny thing that one coach encouraged me to do a couple of years back, and she said, get $100 bill and talk to the money. And I call it Benji, because Benjamin Franklin is on there in the US, wherever you are. I don't know what's on your 100 there in Canada. But that's what I do. And I started doing that every day. And there's other reasons to have, a little bit of cash mindset wise, because then you feel more wealthy when you're carrying around a couple $100 bills. But every day I would talk to Benji, and I was so struck the first time I did this. I was super skeptical because at that point, I was still very entrenched in the wealth and spirituality can't coexist. But I was like, I'm going to give it a shot, because I pretty much was willing to like do anything, right, to make this thing work. And what I really felt like God spoke through, it's not like money speaks, right? But, and what got laid on my heart was like, to the degree to which you love yourself, you will have much more of me, of money. That was the first time I tried it. And I was like, wow. Because I didn't love me. Like Shanei asked about being told a failure. Like, how do you overcome that? How do you get confidence? It definitely shakes you to your core. And I didn't love me. And I'm likely still on that journey of loving all of who I am and being able to receive money without shame. That's a big thing for people that blocks money, is feeling ashamed of wanting money, especially if we have that religious background. And so working through things like that and knowing, just shifting my perspective, like the phrase, you can't be poor enough to help the poor. So, okay, what's the flip side of that? The flip side is making money, not making money your idol, but making enough of it that you have plenty to bless others, that you have plenty to fund all the amazing programs that people are doing to bring fresh water to communities overseas, to help women get out of human trafficking, to helping the homeless. I mean, there's a myriad of societal ills and organizations doing phenomenal work that we're really called to support financially. They can't operate if there aren't some of us out here making some money. So that's really what started to shift it for me, and get to the point where I was okay receiving and happy to receive money and let go of that shame around wanting to make money, so that I would have my needs taken care of and my desires. I don't think God is some curmudgeon up there saying like, oh, if you make more than $5,000 a month, that's too much. Like, I don't think that's how it is. And we just have an amazing opportunity to make the world a better place. And that for me is why I do what I do. Like, my life has been transformed by the work that I've done, like the inner personal work. And the more money we have and can put into circulation and to fund organizations and things like that, the more transformation and change we'll see in the world to make it a better place, to meet the needs of those people who are crying out for help.
Just quick question, Don, because this is amazing. Everything that you are sharing here, it's really amazing. And we are almost at the end of the show. So I know that you wrote a book. It's I Retired Him. So tell us a little bit about that, because that's like the last part of your journey that you are going through right now.
Yeah, I just published it a couple months ago. It's called I Retired Him, and you can grab a copy at iretiredhim.com. And it is the story of being in ministry and what happened there, kind of a little bit more of what I told you today. And then, how we got out. And then part 2 of the story is really mindset. And I go through quite a few chapters of what were the big game changing mindset shifts that I had to have in order to get where I am today. And then the last section of the book is just talking about copywriting and messaging. Like, how do we then go out and take our message out into the world if you're the kind of person that does have a business and really wants to make a difference? I give a lot of really helpful tools and tips and tricks on how to do that. So I would love for you to pick up a copy, and would love to hear about it from you. I love getting DMs. I get messages almost weekly from people I don't even know, just saying how impacted and how inspired they were by the book. And that means the world to me, getting to share my story. And if it encourages or inspires even one person, I've done my job, but I know it'll do a lot more. So.
And what other ways they can use to connect with you, know more about you, or work with you, even if they want to?
Yeah, the best place to find me is probably Instagram, just at Dawn Apuan. If you take my name off the screen, at Dawn Apuan at Instagram. I would love, like I said, I love hearing from people. Send me a DM, let me know you saw the show, and tell me what you're up to in the world. And I love connecting. One of my favorite parts of entrepreneurship, honestly, has been the global community, like what we are representing here, 4 different countries, the global community, and just meeting so many phenomenal people making a difference in the world. And you know what? Together, we can do it.
Amazing.
So tell CJ and Shanei, I know that we are having next week a workshop that we're going to be leading to help business owners and entrepreneurs. Do you want to talk a couple of minutes of that, Shanei, maybe?
Yes, so we have a workshop that is a free workshop. We're hosting it on LinkedIn. So if you guys want to opt into that workshop, just Google Believe in Yourself, Believe in Your Business in LinkedIn. You can search for that, and you can RSVP and just register to join us on the workshop. And we'll be talking about how to go forward faster in your business. In that workshop, we also have a mini session on your mindset and how you can change your mindset in order to achieve what you need to achieve. And then within that, we're going to talk a little bit about business. We can talk a little bit about lead generation and sales. And also, one of the most important things we will be talking about is messaging. How to get your message right so that you can talk to your perfect customer in order to make them your perfect customer. So please go onto LinkedIn, just search Believe in Yourself, Believe in Your Business workshop. It will come up, and you can just RSVP and join us.
Yes, or they can look for us, like our name, and we are leading that, the three of us, Shanei, CJ, and myself. And maybe we will ask Don to join us one of these workshops, because that's something that we are doing all the time, like bringing people that it's giving part of their knowledge. So thank you, really, Don. Your story is amazing. I was like listening every second that what's happening here. And I am really excited about what is coming to your life. And one thing that I wanted to focus a little bit more is your visualization. That's something that was key for everything that happened on those 18 months. I know that it could be even 1 week and you can be like, okay, this is the worst week of my life. You went through 18 months, but that was the bridge that helped you to become the person that you are right now. So that's amazing. And
But you focus on growth. So do you focus on where you want to be or the mess you're in?
exactly. So that's exactly what we are doing. CJ, do you have any final words that you want to share with people?
Not too much really. And Don, I agree. What you focus on, you find is the variation of that that I've heard, and it definitely grows if you focus on it. I just think it's beautiful today. Thank you so much, Don, for joining us, because you're the perfect complement to actually what we offer as a trio. And you covered all the different things from mindset that Alejandro talks about. He talked about funnels and lead generation, and then both of us, we do copy, although I would consider you much more successful than myself. And I'm just so grateful that, you know, you've joined us here today. You're a beautiful soul. I love hearing about your faith and your mindset and your growth. It's inspiring, I think, not just for ourselves, but also for our viewers. I know myself, I see there's a future, there's something to look forward to. And I think it speaks to the goodness of God in our life, even as we go through trials and we cross that bridge and likely want to burn it on the way across, you know, but it's just so inspiring. And I'm just so thankful that you're here today.
Oh, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
And Don, last words that you want to share with everybody here.
Oh, last words. The first thing that popped into my head was the more fun I have, the more money I make. So follow the fun, follow pleasure and feeling good. And I know that doesn't sound like business advice, but I promise you, the more fun you have, the more money you make. So focus on that.
Okay, thank you, Don. This
You're
show can
welcome.
be
Thank you so much.
This show can also be heard on the Spanglish Radio Network. Please check out spanglishworld.ca for all the news and programming. Spanglish World, watch it, hear it, read it, download it, live it. Thank you all. Thank you, Don. See you next time, next week.